Welcome to the world between worlds, a place simply known as the Junction. Here, spirits are caught in the twilight of existence, awaiting guidance to their final destination. Our journey follows the conductor, a solitary figure bestowed with a solemn duty of guiding those lost souls. Under the watchful gaze of the station master, the conductor navigates the complexities of spirits and their untold stories, helping each find peace before boarding the train for the last stop. Join us in this poignant exploration of memory, loss, and the gentle art of letting go.
Oh yeah, I'm back to being sick a little bit.
No.
Yeah, well, I know when we were recording like the first one, I was a little bit sick. So maybe the conductor's voice goes back to the point where it was.
Ooh, yeah, maybe we're back to the OG conductor voice here.
Hopefully it wasn't too jarring of a transition. I haven't actually looked yet, but I appreciate for people hanging in there with my accents.
Welcome, one and all, to Streaming Rainbow and our fourth episode of The Last Stop. The conductor has been on quite the journey so far, and we've explored a lot of stories, and I'm excited to explore another one today with my friend Madison. How are you doing, Madison?
I'm doing really good. Really excited to get back into it.
Yeah? Me too. It's been, I don't know if I'm editing this part out of the intro or not, but it's been another 2 months since we recorded. We're doing really good here. I chose the rockiest part of my life in the past 10 years to do these recordings. So we're coming in with a wild energy and ready to get started. So, Mads, what do you think of the story thus far with our conductor?
I think it's been a very well paced ride. I feel like, as far as starting out with Briar and then moving on through the conductors, like other characters he knew they knew in their life, and how everyone was all interconnected to each other.
Yeah.
And have really enjoyed the different themes each one have brought up, because they all have brought up a different type of letting go, or a different type of regret, or kind of the last things that a lot of people do end up thinking about, or do end up kind of worrying about, even before they get to the final time that they get to, before they get to the end of their life. And it's been enjoyable to explore those themes. And then also, it's actually made me really consider and think about regret, and change the way I view some things about regret.
Nice.
I actually was, whenever I said, one of the things the conductor says a lot is that regret is normal and it's not something to feel bad about. And that was actually something I didn't believe when I said it at first. That was not a Madison choice. That was a spur of the moment RP choice, that when I was thinking about the character for the conductor. And I definitely now am starting to sort of agree with them in that regard, that regret is just a normal part of life and it will happen. Not to be apathetic towards it, but to also understand that it's, even if hopefully we get to live the amount of life we want to live, but we usually don't. From what I've heard or what other people have reported, we usually don't. And there's not usually, we only get one shot at this, and we only get, as far as we know, and we only can figure this out once. And so we're not going to do everything perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a strong line. I think that's something that I'm working on internalizing as well. Not just regret, but emotions in general. I think that there's a lot of ideas that, like, unpleasant emotions that feel bad in the moment, are bad emotions, and therefore you should not feel them. And you hear that a lot about anger or frustration or regret or jealousy or even sadness, that it's a character flaw to feel these things. And I think they're signals from your body, right? They're alarms that are telling you that you're missing something. There's a need that's not currently being met. And if you dig a little bit deeper and find that need and actually resolve whatever that unresolved need is, then you can make your whole life better instead of just ignoring it.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said there, because when I learned, or I started the journey of understanding that emotions that weren't pleasant weren't bad, it really changed a lot of my life, and it's been cool to explore that in this story as well.
Yeah, you ready to explore some more bad emotions?
Yeah.
The smoke of Junction clears. The smoke of Junction, it's not like a factory smoke or a clove cigarette smoke. It's something more mystical. It's the stuff that makes up spirits. It's a smoke that obscures not just the area around you, but it's that same smoke that fills the conductor's memories, that slowly erases spirits, that makes this world so different and clearly separates it from our material world. And that same thick smoke clears, and we find ourselves at the conductor's house. A small, humble abode. The conductor is currently sitting at a window. It's raining outside, and they're not really sitting there enjoying the rain so much as frustratingly trying to fix a leaky window. The type of thing that Tomble would have normally popped over and addressed, but, well, it's on the conductor now. How are you feeling, conductor?
The conductor feels like the bubbling of a very familiar emotion of grief beginning to bubble up as you're trying to do something, or it reminds you of the person that is no longer here anymore. And they are trying to let just the focus of the window and trying to fix it not kind of get to them, but overall, as they continue to try and fix the leaky window and things keep slipping, or it just seems to not keep working, and at one point I think maybe the part they had been fixing just kind of breaks again. And they let the frustration kind of boil over and maybe throw down the tool they're using and take a moment to just take a deep breath, and their eyes begin to feel a little bit warm and their throat closes up a little bit.
Yeah. And as you start to sort of allow, really, this emotion to flood over you, the ever-present bird, Skimble, goes over and pecks the spots on the sill that has just fallen, that is now currently gushing water into your house, by the way.
Yeah.
Boss, I'm not sure this is how it's supposed to look.
I understand that, Skimble. I do. I understand that, Skimble, but at the moment, I'm not no Tomble, all right?
Oh, well, I mean, I wasn't saying that, yeah, I'm just stating.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Skimble. I was, the conductor takes a deep breath to kind of, like, calm their emotions, and then gives, Skimble a little bit of a pet around the head. The skull.
Yeah. The bird skull head.
The skull head. And says, I'm sorry, Skimble. I was feeling like I missed Tomble, and I was taking that out on you. But I do realize I need to take care of this leaking, gushing window into my house. So let's start again, shall we?
Yeah. And as you sort of spend this rainy, dreary afternoon fixing up the window, you eventually get to a good enough place, and Skimble helps bring in doing the bird hop, dragging like towels and stuff to help dry up the floor and the wall and things like that, doing what he can as a bird to help out, but it's a little quieter than usual, trying to give you a little bit of space. But as you get to as you sort of finish this project and are just about to settle down to finally relax, you hear that train whistle in the distance.
I think this is one of a moment where the conductor usually is like, all right, let's go. And, usually pretty rearing to go. The conductor is not in the mood right now.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to go. One of those, I don't want to go into work today. They don't feel like they have a great enough space to handle other people's hardship and emotion at the moment.
Yeah.
So they look over at Skimble and say, it's one of those days. You know what that means?
What does that mean, boss?
It's time to do the ritual.
The ritual.
Yes. And this is a ritual that the conductor does whenever they are having a day they don't want to go and handle the emotions or help someone pass on when they're having a rougher day. And they start doing this very, very, very odd, because the conductor doesn't really move like this usually. They start doing this weird type of little dance to like just get out of their head, and like shaking around very vigorously. And they always try and encourage Skimble to do it with them. So Skimble just kind of looks, I think, and is just kind of like moving his wings, like, yeah.
Yeah, boss, I feel like this might be better with music.
I wouldn't know what to listen to. What do you listen to when you're doing this kind of thing?
I don't know, boss. Never seen anyone do this kind of thing.
But you do feel better afterwards. I feel better after doing it. Maybe there's something about movement. I read something about that one time. If you move, you change the endorphins or whatever. Maybe get more endorphins in your mind. I need more endorphins.
Sure thing, boss. Whatever helps. Yeah, an easy job. If dancing in your house helps, then go for it. You ain't hurting nobody.
Well, it was something Tomble used to do.
That tracks. That absolutely tracks.
Maybe I'll take a few more lines from his book. All right, it's time to head out. Let's go.
And Skimble takes to the air as you exit. Is the conductor an umbrella person or a raincoat person?
Raincoat person.
Absolutely. So, raincoat pulled tight as Skimble, unaffected by the rain. Clearly, he doesn't use physics to fly. As you sail through the sky and out of Junction, actually. The conductor lives kind of where you might say the city meets the suburbs. Essentially that sort of sweet spot right there where it's really easy to get to the city center, but like you're not in the hustle bustle. And usually when you do a sort of spiritual pickup or duty, you tend to go into the city, but it's not super uncommon to come out into the suburbs. But what is uncommon is that you reach sort of the edge of the suburbs after probably half an hour of walking, and Skimble keeps going where the sort of man-made paths end and it becomes nature trails, and you find yourself climbing up a mountain, and not like a steep grade. It's not a hard climb. You're not doing rock climbing. But as you climb it, you can't help but remember, was it the same trek or just a very similar one that you took to the monastery when you first arrived at the monastery of the station master? What's going through your mind as you continue this trek up the mountain?
I think the conductor is thinking about that time of their life when they were first arriving at the monastery, kind of going back over the time and that emotion they felt of excitement, nerves, wanting to do well, to learn more. And then as they walk, I think they're also enjoying the meditative action of it to get their head in the better space. The walk thus far has helped them, again, moving, helping them get more endorphins, change the space they were in, has been helping them. So I think with each step, they prepare themselves a little bit more for the person they're going to see.
Sure enough, as you sort of crest one of the peaks of this trek, the forest opens up and you see the monastery. The monastery you'd spent so much of your life at, exactly how you remember it. And again, you're not sure if that's a trick of the spirit world or if it's actually true or if it's a trick of your memory or whatnot, but it's this big imposing structure. It's this weird mix. It looks like it was a brutalist construction initially, just full of hard angles and concrete and things like that, that someone at some point was like, hey, maybe we don't have to live like this, and put windows in, but it still has the overall brutalist form. It's like just been decorated, made to look a little bit nicer, a little bit more pleasant, and styled, of course, to look like a train station because it functions as a train station. This is the station that you rode the train on to Junction, your own one-way train. And as you walk up to the structure, what mixture of emotions fills the conductor as they see, standing in front of the door, is Master Lee, a fierce woman who taught the conductor basically everything that they know. Master Lee's job was to teach new conductors. And as far as you know, you were probably her fourth or fifth conductor that she taught, which is an incredible tenure because conductor is a lifelong role for people. And she was not a pleasant woman. She was a very strict teacher and is apparently still very strict as she holds a stopwatch and you hear the of it as she looks up at you. The slightest twinge of disappointment is the only emotion that you read from her body as she takes out a clipboard from a messenger bag and writes down a couple notes. 15 minutes late.
It's very good to see you, Master Lee.
I wish I could say the same. And Skimble, it's good to see you again. Skimble is basically like trying to hide on your shoulder behind your hood. Okay. Yeah, yeah, of course, ma'am. It's good to see you too. Uh, 15 minutes. What's your excuse this time?
Don't have one, ma'am. It was I guess if I had to think of one, it was raining, and also I needed to clear my head a little bit before this current one.
You had to clear your head.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been a conductor for 10, 15 years now. You had to clear your head.
Yes, ma'am. Last time I checked, it doesn't matter how long you've held position or how old you are. Sometimes some emotions just need to be felt, and then they need to be dealt with. But now I'm in a much better space, even though I do apologize that I was late, but I'm in a much better space to see you and hear what you need.
I would have expected you would have dealt with your emotions by now.
You know, that's a funny thing, Mashley, because I actually would have expected that as well, but it appears that emotions do have a little bit of a mind of their own. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely not. Emotions are meant to be controlled by logic and understanding, and the better understanding we can get of our position and our roles, the better we can master them. This is not an emotional position conductor.
I remember you telling me that. You told me that a lot, didn't you?
Yes, you had a tendency to get too wrapped up in your head. You have a simple job, which is to guide spirits to the train, whatever that takes. You were given a set of tools, which I hope you have retained.
Well, I have held this position for about 15 years now, and over my time I have passed on many spirits. Many spirits have gone through. I would say that your teaching of me has not been a complete failure.
Good. I've held on in this world for as many years, hoping I could get a different conductor, but I suppose you will have to do. Now,
Oh, if only we could pick our conductors, eh?
yes, if only. Now come, let's begin. And she turns a perfect 180-degree turn and leads you into the monastery. Very much immediately taking charge of the situation, as is her style. Inside the monastery, it is not bleak and empty. A lot of the followers of the conductor congregate here when they come to the spirit world. And there's kind of an expectation that you maintain the monasteries and temples on this side, just as the conductor is expected to maintain the temples sort of in Junction proper. There are monks and priests and similar that are expected to maintain the monastery and keep things running and whatnot before they sort of pass on to the last stop themselves. But strangely enough, the conductor doesn't actually spend a lot of time here because these people are familiar enough with the station master that they tend to have done a lot of their own processing and working through things and have their own understanding of the afterlife, and having been given the station master's boon to spend a few years here in the spirit world before passing on, they have even more time to sort of process and be okay with things, and the haze of the spirit world eases all of that. So most of the people here make it to the last stop by themselves. It's very unusual for the conductor to make their way here. But it's probably not the first time the conductor has been here, but probably the first time in probably 5 or 10 years. As you walk through the sort of main entrance hallway and into sort of the inner cloister, Master Lee stops and critiques or gives advice or gives instructions or orders to several people as you pass by. Little inefficiencies within the organism that is this monastery that Master Lee sees as their duty to correct, to fix, to improve, to make better. And after a little bit of walking, you are finally brought to the dormitories. And one of the dorms near the front it's a very humble sort of room. It has a simple bed, simple pillow, bookcase with a single book on it, which is the station master's manifesto, essentially. The equivalent to a Bible in your religion that has the teachings of the station master and the expectations and roles. A very well-worn, well-used desk with parchments and ink, very old school. And you're led into here. The Master Lee pulls out the desk chair for you and gestures for you to sit, and takes a seat herself on the edge of the bed.
The conductor takes a breath, kind of unbuttoning their cloak and sitting down, and looks around the room at the simple everything that's there, and then looks back at Master Lee and kind of scoffs a little bit and says, I was thinking a lot about you, actually, on the walk up, as I was seeing this place for a first time in a while.
As expected, you spent a lot of time with me.
Yeah,
I hope you were running through the lessons that you were taught.
I was thinking about those. I was also thinking about some of the favorite things that you taught me. Always prided yourself on efficiency and time, of course, which I remember that was one of the thorns about me that you really didn't appreciate.
Yes. For such a planner, you always spent so much time with your head in the clouds. I blame that Briar child you talked so much about.
Yes, well, I believe maybe too much to your chagrin, that head in the clouds mentality didn't fully go away at that point, but I believe it's helped in some ways, and maybe more than hurt. I think it's helped more than hurt in more ways than one. I also remember that you taught me to, even though you were so prideful on your time and your management, you also taught me never to rush things, though, once we were initially with the client, to never rush the situation, which has proved to be one of the most invaluable lessons that you taught me.
Of course, it's foolhardy to think that in rushing the client, you can achieve results faster. Only through understanding them and figuring out the puzzle that is their problem can you truly help them pass on. And the more you rush and try and get to what you think it is instead of what it actually is, the longer it will take. We have a lot to do in this profession. We don't have time to dilly-dally.
Of course, Master Lee. Now, I have a question for you, actually, since you're here. Do you think it is about us mainly figuring out the puzzle? Or do you think that the person that we are working with helps us figure out the puzzle, to do the puzzle with us?
It's simply our job to guide them to the last stop. No more, no less. Whatever it takes to do that in the most efficient manner possible. We deal with hundreds, thousands of spirits in our time. We cannot attach ourselves to each of them. We cannot allow ourselves to become emotional at the drop of a hat. You were my 5th conductor. The 4 before you were much easier to deal with, though I do say their tenures in the spirit world were much shorter.
Maybe take in time isn't too much of a bad thing now, is it?
That's yet to be determined. Let us see if you actually have 15 years of experience, or if you've been living the same year of experience 15 times.
I always love your turns of phrase.
She sort of, almost like a therapist session, like sort of turns and leans back, not fully laying on the bed, sort of back propped up against the wall as you feel your whistle begin to warm up.
I kind of clasp my hands, resting them on the desk, and then say to Master Lee, well, I know that with you, I can be a little more straightforward. Why are you here, Master Lee?
Think of it as a test of your abilities. I am worried that I'm leaving the spirit world in the arms of a failure.
How honorable of you to make sure that the person that is guiding the spirits and has been for the past 15 years is adequate.
It is my duty.
Well, let's start with why do you think it's a failure? Why are you concerned?
And as you ask that question, the room around you shifts and changes as you're brought into a memory. We haven't talked about it much in this show, but the station master does have a lot of rituals. There are a lot of things that the conductor is expected to do in terms of cleansing stations or train stops, in terms of maintaining the train itself. It's this sort of an odd mix of engineering and religion, because the conductor is expected to make sure that the train doesn't break down. And you have help and support. There are other people that are very good at that, but you're the first line. And you're the one that spends the most time on the train. You're the one that has to inscribe it with the ancient sigils. You're the one that has to chant the ancient rites, to sort of be that conduit between the station master and Junction and the train itself. And most of your time at the monastery was drilling these types of rituals. And these types of rituals and this sort of rote memorization is what Master Lee was particularly good at and particularly harsh about. And the scene opens to a young conductor. Teenager, probably like 17, 18, shortly after you arrived at the monastery. And we're sat here in front of a decommissioned train that's built in the exact same way as the train to the last stop is built. The conductor is sort of under the train, going through and trying to figure out what piece of the train had been taken out by Master Lee, sweating, covered in oil. Master Lee is sitting there, clipboard in one arm, stopwatch in the other, and as you and Skimble peek over Master Lee in the memory's shoulder, you see the stopwatch has 5 hours on it right now. And Master Lee in memory looks down and sort of scoffs. Are you crying right now? Truly, conductor, are you crying?
it's just, I know it's taken so long, and I know you're disappointed. I know you're mad at me. I know I'm messing it up, but I'm trying not to cry right now. I promise, Master Lee, I promise.
There's no room for emotions. Crying will simply dilute your eyesight and make it harder to find the peace you're so diligently looking for.
The young conductor kind of does like one of those shudder breaths whenever you're trying not to have a mental breakdown, but it's probably gonna, or have a meltdown, but it's probably gonna happen anyway. And kind of stifles their sniffles as they are looking for the peace.
The Master Lee with you now sort of gestures at the train. It took you another 2 hours past this to complete a fairly simple maintenance check. It was a single bolt that was missing that if you had gone through the checklist that you should have memorized, you would have found in less than half an hour. But instead, you wanted to feel it out.
The conductor takes a sigh, kind of chuckling to themselves, kind of kneeling by the train, or squatting down and looking at the young conductor who is trying their best not to cry and to be strong. Mm-hmm. And they also end up feeling around. They move to another part of the train, feeling around, closing their eyes, and finding the bolt right now.
Mm-hmm. At this point, it's an easy task for you.
Yeah.
Something you've done 1,000 times over, this type of check, this type of bolt, to make sure that the spirit world can continue to function, really.
Mm-hmm. And they said, I learned so much from that lesson. That was one of the harder ones I learned. But I do believe now, so isn't it funny that something that was so hard a long time ago, now I can do with my eyes closed. But I do feel like that feeling it out, though it took me longer in that one time, helped me get an understanding of the rest of the train for when I did the more complicated tasks. I'm sure you'll remember that whenever I got to some of the other ones, took me actually a little bit shorter to figure out what was going on with the problem, because I took that time to get to know the engine, know the train.
Yeah, and this feels like our first approach roll. Master Lee is a stubborn soul and is going to need a 14 on our first roll.
I would say I am doing dedicate. I'm doing dedicated right now, taking up, like, giving her lots of time to show me what she wants. Reflection, I think so too. Like, I'm reflecting, like, well, this is something different that happened too, right? So I would think I would say that works too.
I'll give you that.
So, and then I think I'm still, I can't decide if actually I'm approaching with heart or mind at this point. Like, training procedure and experience. It might be more mind this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus emotional instinct.
That is up to you. I can see an argument for either, but that is 2 dice versus 3 dice.
I mean, it makes more sense to choose, like, from a, like, getting the number perspective, it makes more sense to use 3, like the heart one. But I almost feel like that the conductor would be, like, from a roleplay perspective, the conductor would be trying to approach with the mind, because that's usually what Master Lee would be doing, is trying to appeal to her logic versus her emotions.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give myself the handicap and use 2.
Okay. That's 2 dice plus 2. Trying to get a 14.
Okay, I got a 12. Because it adds +1, right? Each one?
Yeah.
Okay, got a 12. Close, but no cigar.
Yeah. Master Lee, again, it's hard to read the emotions on Master Lee in their face, in their body. They have so thoroughly trained them out. But after having spent as long as you did, you can start to read little bits and pieces, and you know that you said something you maybe shouldn't have. As Masterly turns to you, your training took 2 times as long as the next longest training I've given for a conductor. And 3.5 times as long as my shortest training. So no, I would not say that it paid off to get to know a piece of metal. It's not an object to have an emotional connection to. I don't feel bad about using my broom to sweep because it's not a person. It's a tool to be used. It's a tool to be maintained, similar to the train. It's a tool to be used, a tool to be maintained, not a friend to make.
Maybe, but this is the last thing most people will remember. It's the last thing that they're on. It's the last stop. It's the last thing that's keeping them from moving on. I think that getting to know that piece of equipment is not necessarily the same as a broom.
Do you think anyone remembers this train? Do you think there's something past the last stop that wherever they go, whatever they become, maintains memories?
Memory probably wasn't the right word to use. I'm doing a lot more pauses than normal in this one.
The place that we take them, they never come back from. It doesn't matter what they remember or don't, or even if they do remember. If whatever they get to is capable of remembering things, it doesn't matter. It has no material impact on you, or your job, or your duties.
Maybe not. I still think that the experience as a whole is important, and this is part of the experience. And so I think that not that you have to be so attached to just the train itself, but to the entire process. That is something you did also tell me. That this all of it is the process. It's not just one piece after the other. They all interact so connectedly.
Yes, the station master has woven an intricate web. And it's our duty to navigate it efficiently.
I was wondering, Master Lee, I don't think you ever told me while I was under your tutelage. Who trained you?
I was trained by my mother, the previous Master Lee. I did not get to know her until I myself came to the monastery.
Does she have... I'm assuming that's where you learned all of the wonderful tools and lessons that you taught me.
Yes, it seems that more of those lessons could have stuck. And the whistle heats up. And you find yourself in a small room. This is one of the archives in the monastery. You see Master Lee is there with one of the other masters. And they're talking in sort of quiet tones. Here in the archive, there's scrolls and parchments and books and texts and whatnot. Very fastidiously organized in this small room around them as they sit or stand really around a lectern that has one of the books open on it, and the two of them are going over a more esoteric ritual, and the other master turns to Master Lee. So the new conductor, how is the training going? Master Lee sort of furrows their brow, the strongest show of emotion you've seen, at least thus far, and perhaps ever. Well, they have heart in a way that most of the conductors the station master sends me don't. And I think that they can bring an era of nurturing and healing to the spirit world and to the monastery in a way that I can't, and none of the other conductors can. I think they're the strongest conductor candidate we've had in a long time. I just wish they took to their lessons better. It's frustrating to see someone with such talent take so long to understand such simple concepts. The master sort of like, well, don't you think maybe you're being a little bit hard on them? And immediate, like, sharp turn to look at the other master. And Master Lee says, hard on them? No. I am hard on them. But it's not out of cruelty. I am a forge through which they must be shaped and honed. That is why I am hard on them and why I must be hard on them. It is not a cruelty, it is a love, it is a kindness I am doing to them and those that they will serve.
The conductor gives a little laugh at this, watching the exchange, and looks over at Master Lee in the spirit form and says, you know, I even though it was hard when I was younger, under your tutelage, as I've gotten older, and what I tried to remind myself every day while I was there, was that was what you were trying to do. You were there, I understood that, even if it seemed like I didn't understand very many things. That was one thing I understood pretty quickly. You weren't necessarily trying to be mean to me. You weren't mean. You were trying to help me. You wanted to make sure I would do it right, and your attention to detail. I remember the things that you could do so easily, I stayed up all night trying to do, and I still couldn't do very well. But I knew that it wasn't based on cruelty or meanness that you were so harsh on me and on all your students. I didn't think I was anything special at that point either. I'm sure you were just as hard on every other student you had.
Of course.
I never saw it as in fact, I thank you for how hard you were on me, because it taught me a lot about not just the lessons and to remember the things that you taught me so well to remember, but it also taught me a lot about what I wanted to do when I was in this profession when I got there.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and make our second approach roll here. Your target this time is 13.
This one definitely feels more like heart.
Yep.
Still dedicated. Yeah, I think reflection still too.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a 15.
All right. There we go. Master Lee is quiet for a moment. Nods. None of us are truly special. That's not the point. That's not our role. The fact that we have a role by necessity means we aren't special. That there were trainers before me just as there were conductors before you. And there will be conductors after you just as there will be trainers after me. It is our job to fulfill those duties to the best of our capabilities. And it's my job to make sure that you fulfill your duties to the best of your capabilities.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe not in the grand scheme of things when we think about the big vastness of the universe are we all individually special. But they're special to me. You mean the world to me. You may not mean anything in the world, but to one person you may be the world. And you were special to me. You were my trainer. You're my teacher. I think about you every day when I do this job. And I don't think that is weakness. I don't think that me having an attachment to that is weakness. I don't think that me having an attachment to the train, to this, to the whistle. I hold up the whistle. To the spirits I pass on, that their lives impact me, maybe I don't know how much I impact them. We don't know if they remember me. They probably don't. But holding on to little pieces of them and seeing myself in them, seeing others in them, I don't think that's weakness. And I think that's what's needed in this job. It's not just a memorization process. You can't memorize your way into guiding someone down the spirit realm. You can't do it. I cannot tell you how many times, especially when I was first trying, I have not done it the same way a single time, masterly. A single time. It's never been the same. Sure, there are themes that come up and go, but no one spirit has ever been the same, ever. And that's something your books could have never taught me.
It seems the last person to remember me will be a fool whose heart is too full.
You say that like that's a bad thing.
I say that with neutrality. That is neither good nor bad. It is simply a descriptor.
Now, Masterly, I want to ask you, how do you approach your emotions? Do you feel that they only have to be there if they serve some use? What do you feel about, we've been looking at mainly about how you thought of me, but I want to know what you think of you.
Yes, emotions are signals that are given to be interpreted through a logical lens. That is all they are. They are meant to drive action. And should you act impulsively off of those emotions, you are to invite trouble. They're simply messages, data, to be taken and used and understood.
When did you learn that to act on emotions led to trouble? Where did you learn that?
When I was dealing with my own training.
Tell me more about that.
We do difficult jobs, conductor. I see children off to their deaths. That is what I do. I train them sometimes from when they're wee brats, sometimes from the adolescence. I'm given a short time to turn them into a tool for the station master. And then I put them on that train, and they die. They go to the spirit world, and they never come back. It is a form of death, perhaps a different one than normal, a consensual one that comes with all of the merits and greatness of serving the station master, but is effectively a death. And I am not privy to what happens after that. I can't afford to become attached to those that I train, to those that I teach. I can't let emotions get in the way of doing a good job. I cannot protect the child with kindness if I want to ensure their success, if I want to ensure the role of conductor continues to be filled in the way it needs to for the spirit world to function, for our world to function, for the station master to function.
You keep going back to that. You keep going back to your job and why you did it. I'm not questioning why you did what you did. You were a good teacher. Harsh, but you're a good teacher. I don't think anyone in the station master agrees with me. You were a good teacher. There's a reason why you did what you did. There's a reason why you were here when you did the way you did it. I have no issues with the way you taught me. I no trauma, no nothing. I don't need an explanation for why you were the way that you were. I want to know you, not your job, not your reasoning, not anything else that you keep bringing back to your work, which I know we are very attached to it, and I'm gonna get attached to it, but we're not. It's not all we are. And
I think you perhaps misunderstand me, but my occupation is all that I am and all that I have done for the past 80 years.
I think my point is that you seem to keep on going back to the fact of your job being the reason why you can't, or not that. It seems that you keep on going back to, this is why I had to be so harsh on specifically my students. That's what you keep going back to. And I guess my point here is that, yes, your job is mainly what you did and what you gave to this realm. I guess what I'm saying is you don't have to keep defending it. You don't have to keep defending your reasoning.
I'm not. I'm simply explaining it as you ask questions and search for some sort of deeper meaning.
I think that it makes a lot of sense that you would not want to grow super attached, and you wouldn't try to when you are, as you said, losing that attachment or that person in a relatively short time, especially in the lifespan that you led. 5 was it? It was including me.
5 conductors.
5 conductors. But do you think that truly, though you told yourself and that you reasoned yourself that you shouldn't, did you not still have any of those feelings?
Of course. They're signals to be interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you don't have them.
Right. So how, if, you learned how to read your signals, how did you learn to handle and take those emotions? What did you do to feel them? What did you do to move past them? Did you move past them?
There's nothing to move past. It's just data.
I disagree. Then you wouldn't be here, Master Lee.
As I said, I am simply here to ensure that my work was done well.
You're here because you're putting off what you know is coming. Not to test me, though you're going to try and put it on me. I'm going to be straight with you because you always were straight with me. You're not here because to test me. You're here because you're trying to avoid something. And that's what my job is here for, is to help you move past that so you can go and move on to what needs to happen next. And you know, just as well as me, you know better than me, we can't put that off. So, in my opinion, if I had to do my assessment of you, I would say you never move past those emotions. You lock them away. You put them away and you decide not to think about them. And now when you are faced with the end, They're all coming back because we can put them away for a while. You can always put your emotions away for a while. You can lock them up tight. They're still going to be there whenever you get to the end. You're going to either deal with them then or you're going to deal with them later. I like to deal with mine now.
I think that there's a fundamental difference in how we experience emotions, Conductor.
I would assume so. But tell me more about how you experience yours.
As I've said, it seems that your memory problems still exist. They are simply signals. No more, no less. You feel them for a moment, then you interpret them and respond accordingly.
All right, then and again, answer my question. Why are you here? If that was such a simple situation, why are you here?
I believe I've already told you that as well, though you desire to read more into it.
All right. Well, if you're here to test me, and that is truly what you think you're here to do, then give me your assessment so far. How did I do? Give me your grade.
Well, we've only gone through 2 out of the 3 memories thus far. It seems you still believe in a deeper meaning and connectedness to everything that I cannot fathom. But otherwise, you seem to be doing things well.
Now, don't be too complimentary there, Master Lee. You might lose some of your harshness.
I can give praise where it is due. I'm no longer training you either. And in less than an hour, you'll never see me again.
It's true. Less than an hour. Never see you again. Did you ever want to be the conductor?
I think I would have done a good job of it. But it was not my place.
That's not the question. Did you want to be the conductor? Yes or no?
No.
No. I can understand why. Did you want to train the kids?
Yes.
Why did you choose to train them?
I was chosen by the station master at a very young age myself. The monastery is all I knew and all I know. I can't think of a different life than the one that I led.
So you really had no other experience besides what you experienced at the monastery?
Yes.
I see. I understand. Do you have a favorite memory of the monastery? I'd love to hear more about it.
I do.
Tell me about it.
The mists and fog swirls around you as your whistle warms up once more, and you find yourself on the monastery lawn. The sky is that sort of dark blue of dusk as it slowly brightens. You're on a sort of grassy hill, and looking around, you see a good number of people from the monastery are on this grassy hill. It was not uncommon to watch the sunrises here, as they were exceptionally beautiful up here in the mountaintops as the sun sort of crests over the other nearby peaks. But there are more people here than usual, and it includes the young conductor. And sort of in the middle of this group is a bed that has been carried out here to the hill and sort of propped up as best it can with other blocks of wood and things like that to keep it stable on the hill. And lying down in that bed is a very frail looking Master Lee, very different than the spirit you see before you. And you recognize this as the day that Master Lee passed away, and the day before you took your own train ride to Junction. No one speaks. It's a very silent moment as the colors in the sky change hues. Pinks, golds, yellows, oranges all show up in mesmerizing pattern. Once the sun has fully risen, people start to make their way inside until it's just you and Master Lee in the memory. Master Lee reaches out their hand to you, and in the memory, you take it and hold it. It might be the most physical contact you and Master Lee had in your years of knowing her. And in an old, mostly broken voice, she finally speaks up, breaking the silence. You're going to be a good conductor. You are my best student. I was hard on you because I loved you. And I'm sorry I could not show you more kindness. And I'm glad that I did not break you of that silly habit. That habit of kindness.
The young conductor I think is fully just crying unabashedly. Also probably have been the biggest compliment and the most gentle the Master Lee had ever been. And then the conductor, now standing and watching with Miss Lee or Master Lee, wipes a few tears from their eyes at the moment, and looks over at Master Lee and says, "This is one of my favorite memories in the monastery too. Not just because you finally said I'd be a good conductor, but because I felt like it was the most I saw you." And Go ahead.
Go ahead and give me our last approach roll. Your difficulty is a 12.
Okay. I'm adding the dedicated and reflection too.
Okay.
Yeah.
As your approach, mind or heart?
I'm using heart here.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I got 13.
All right. Yeah. Continue.
It wasn't like there was that was the one magic thing that made everything made sense. I had anticipated, like I told you earlier, that you were hardest on people that you loved. And that was a way you could use your data, those emotions you talk about, in an actionable way. You could take those emotions and put them to good use to make sure that the ones that you loved did something right. It was a way to put all that love to good use. And I had been anticipating that for a while, and that was one thing that had confirmed it, though I had known it was still good to hear you say it or show it. I remember that I was really, really glad I had the chance to be there on your last day. I was so worried I wasn't going to be able to. That I'd have to go. No, I think you might remember I actually I put it off until you did.
You did.
Much to your disappointment.
My health was failing me. And it happens to everyone when you reach a certain age. And you put in for an extension, and I was disappointed. Disappointed to be the one to hold you back from your destiny, your duty. That the frailty of my physical form and my inability to mask it caused you this hardship.
I think you misunderstand my reasoning for staying back, Master Lee. It was not any due to the fact I was super worried about you. Like you said, it happens to everyone. You were getting older in your years, and this was something that was going to happen at some point. I think you just misunderstand that I simply wanted to spend your last moments with you. I wanted to take my time, like you so much hated. You were you said that the monastery was all that you knew. You weren't all I knew, but you became most of it. I don't think it's wrong. I wanted to spend as much time with someone that I spent most of my life with in the end.
I don't think it was wrong either. And selfishly, I'm grateful that you did.
Well, you're really trying to wait to get a different conductor, or you just said that?
No, I knew you'd be conductor for a while. And I had my own duties to take care of here at the monastery. But she looks over at Skimble. Well, a little bird told me it was probably about time.
I look over at Skimble.
What are you looking at me for, boss?
She
Just
looked at
doing
you.
my job.
It really is good to see you again, Master Lee. I've missed you a lot.
And it's good to see you. I've missed you as well, conductor. Though the station master has erased your name, I do still cherish our memories.
Oh my god. The conductor had a name. Oh my. Oh, okay. The conductor feels a well of emotion kind of come up at the mention of their old name, which they don't even know, I'm assuming, right? They don't even remember it either.
No. You left that when you came to the spirit world.
Mm-hmm. And smiles and says, I also cherish our memories as well. I think it's about time.
Yeah. You have my ticket ready.
Mm-hmm. And conductor takes it out of their pocket, does a little flourish with their button puncher, and hands it over to her.
She takes it. It's a bit of a walk to the train station, so we must be on our way. As the memories fade around you and you find yourself back in this humble room. It doesn't even really need to be cleaned out before the next person takes it.
The conductor stands up and begins to kind of nods their head to Master Lee and says, well, follow me. I won't take you the scenic route because I know you're going to want to get there quick.
I know you have other spirits to see.
It's beautiful, I'll tell you that.
Yep. And the three of you make your way down the mountain. The sun slowly rising over the peaks, painting the sky and wild hues of the spirit world. It's more than just your golds and your pinks. There's greens and reds, deep purples, twinkling blues. Colors just paint the sky as though an artist was just having a great day. And as you make it back to Junction proper, the sun is fully risen. It was obscured by the mists of the city, giving you that ambient light that you're so accustomed to down here in the city. The rain is cleared up, but there's still puddles and wet cobblestones about. And before you know it, after a mostly silent walk, the three of you board the train and make your way to the last stop.
You know, Master Lee, I think that you said that we did difficult jobs. You would lead children to their deaths, as you put it. And I also lead many, many, many people, children and old, to their deaths. It's a difficult job. And I remember I tried it. I tried your method. I tried to not get attached to the spirits that I would pass on. I tried to for the first... You'll think this funny. The first week. And what I noticed was that also meant they couldn't attach to me, and that also meant they couldn't trust me. When I was not allowing myself to make some type of connection with that person, it ended up causing, it still would happen. I could get them to go to the stop by using the methods you told me. But they always would hesitate at the end. Like they were missing something. And so I think what I try and do, even though maybe it's not always fully necessary, because I guess in this world or in this life or everything else, it's not always fully necessary to show that connection. You don't need it all the time, but it feels a little bit more full when you do. And I think ultimately one common thread all of the spirits I've led is that they all want that last bit of connection. And the easiest way I can give it is by letting myself get attached to them.
Know that this is a kindness on your part and not part of your duty. It is a kindness that you offer those perhaps most in need. One that is wholly unnecessary, but that doesn't mean it's unimportant.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I am glad it was you. I'm glad I got to see you again. And that it's you who has a heart full enough to offer this kindness to people like me and seeing me off to the last stop.
It's kind of a beautiful callback, isn't it? Because you were the one that saw me off. It's kind of full circle for me, actually. Conductor definitely starts sniffling. Look at this. I'm crying and you're the one leaving.
Well, where I'm going to next, who knows if I'll remember any of this. There's no reason to cry. You're the one who's stuck with the memories. You're the one
but
who's
I'm
going
going to love
deal with
those
it.
memories. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said, but I'm going to love those memories. I'll hold them close.
I hope you do. I hope they help. The train slows. The steam hisses as it brakes. Outside the train is just black. Each time you go to the last stop and look out the windows, it's a little different. You've come to understand it is a reflection of whatever spirit you're bringing. And here it's just nothing. Not in a negative way or in a positive way, just in a neutral way. Master Lee stands up, hands out the ticket to be punched. The next part's not going to be easy.
No. It's not. And no one there can help you there but yourself.
I think you
But
misunderstand, Conductor.
I'm sorry, Bastion. I keep interrupting.
You're fine.
Can you repeat what the last thing you said?
I think you misunderstand me, Conductor. Next part is very simple for me. I walk through those doors and I'm done. The next part's going to be difficult for you. And not just me leaving, but she looks at Skimble again, and back to you. You have a difficult job.
The conductor furrows their brows for a moment, and then they relax again. And they smile and said, "It's never been easy.
No,
But that's the job, right?"
that's our duty. We don't do it because it's easy. She looks out the windows and back to you, gives a sort of nod. Take care. I'll give the station master your regards.
Please do. Goodbye, Master Lee.
And goodbye, conductor. She turns and steps out. And no longer is. As the train doors close, you and Skimble make the return journey back to Junction. One of the very few people with the privilege of taking the train in this direction.
The conductor has an odd feeling as they're returning this time. Sometimes they feel like positive after an experience. Sometimes it's a little heavier than normal. This one just feels relatively eerie. Like they knew that she was trying to warn them in the way that she was allowed to about something. But if she was going to say that something wasn't going to be easy, as she prided herself on just pushing through and getting the job done, it meant that she had enough. It meant that whatever was coming was definitely going to be bigger than the conductor had ever encountered yet. And the conductor is currently very deep in thought. They're kind of like thinking and wondering what exactly is coming next, that the strongest person they knew felt like they needed to warn them that it wouldn't be easy. Because in her mind, she thought it was a simple job, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And Skimble lets you sit there in thought as the two of you return. Make your way back to your house. Your makeshift repair has already fallen apart.
Classic.
Yeah. What keepsake of Master Lee's do you keep?
I think the conductor takes the clipboard, and on the clipboard, they see the notes written in very perfect print about their performance.
Yeah. And you see it's almost all positive.
They also notice there is a point when the notes stop. It's like in mid-sentence. Probably the moment when they'd started going towards the last stop.
Yep.
The conductor puts the clipboard in their little keepsake room, taking careful care to make sure that the paper doesn't get too rustled.
Yeah.
And then as they are putting away the clipboard, they notice as the paper moves a little bit, there's something on behind the actual paper. And I don't think the spirits know necessarily the conductor is going to take anything, but maybe Master Lee, in her knowledge of how things work a little bit more, maybe knew a little bit. And there's a little note, sticky note kind of thing on there that says, you really should try to be more on time.
It's a little drawing of a stopwatch.
And the conductor takes the sticky note and puts it in their coat pocket.
Yeah.
Then goes to go and fix the leak again.
Absolutely. And that's where we'll end today's session. How are you feeling?
So was she actually there just to test them, or was there, like, was that all that was? Because
you don't get to know. That's part of the theme of this show, right? Is that there's ambiguity. We don't always get to know. And there's finality.
Yeah. I really like this one, though. This is one of my... I mean, I think about I say that after every episode, but this was definitely... Master Lee was one of my favorites. That man... Every time we do one of these, I'm like, I'm not going to cry. I'm doing pretty good. And then all of a sudden, towards the end, I'm like... did a good job. All the themes of someone telling you did a good job. The hard teacher telling you actually did what you... Improving and you actually did what you accomplished or wanted to. Oh, that wrecks me.
Yeah, this was a hard one to write as well, because it's like, I didn't want it to come across like, oh, Master Lee had a heart of gold or was like secretly kind. It's not even that they were unkind. It's just that people have different ways of showing kindness and understanding of what that means, or how that works. People with different life experiences, right? They just approach and see things differently, and they don't understand how to give, like Master Lee does not understand how to give kindness, or when it's needed or when it's necessary, because that's just not an experience that she had. And what she did was give kindness in the way she thought it was meant to be given, in the form of preparing you for the future, preparing you for a difficult job, making sure that you were set up for success. And that was kindness to her. But that doesn't mean it was kind, or that it was done in a kind way. And I didn't want to take away from that.
I think it really came across, for sure. And, from the way I was playing the conductor's reactions, because at first I was kind of deciding how I wanted to go. I was like, is the conductor going to get mad at Master Lee? But I don't think they would have at their age now. They got a little testy at one point when she was saying that emotions were just data, and then they were like, well, why are you here then? Because if that's the case, you wouldn't be here. And then we never really got the answer for that. If it was just a test, that maybe every conductor gets see their station master or their trainer off, and that's kind of how that works. Or if she was having trouble actually moving on, maybe because she wanted to do something else with her life, or she just didn't, because of the way that she had viewed things, she hadn't been able to move past them. But I think ultimately, and this is something I kind of I've taken in my own life, is understanding kind of what you were saying, is that people with different life experiences and different backgrounds won't provide love or care the same way. And that's been super helpful to realize in my adult life that people say I love you in so many different ways. Um, I use it a lot with my friends as well, like knowing that one person may use words to express it and be very like affirming that way. And then another person sends a meme, and that's the way they show that they care about you, right?
Yeah.
And the parents may be making you dinner, if that's the way that's the way a lot of common parents will show affection if they don't say it. And it's just really interesting. I really like that theme, and I think you did a great job with writing the character to not make it seem like she was doing something that was, oh, she's actually just a really nice person. No, she wasn't, but she was doing the best she could with what she had.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it came across to me, at least.
Yeah, and I really liked the way that kind of you talking about trying to figure out how to respond, the way that the maturity and sort of the distance came across in the conductor, because it's clear like there were feelings there, and there were like, oh, in the past that experience did suck, but looking back on it now that I am like in my 50s, my 60s, like now that I've been in this job for 15 years, now that like et cetera, that you have that distance and like more of that understanding, like, oh, like I get it now, like you were doing your best and that wasn't great at the time, and it doesn't like erase those feelings, but right now in this moment, that's not important, and that's not what like where I'm going to focus my energy.
Yeah, because that was also something I was thinking about, is it wasn't the purpose was not to kind of unpack what happened during during their training that hurt them. It was to focus on Master Lee.
Yeah.
And that was so yeah, that's good that came across too. I was trying to come across with trying to acknowledge that there were feelings in the past, but kind of the maturity and the distance had, over time, they had grown to understand Master Lee a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Next episode is our finale, and I'm very excited to bring that. A little bit sad, because I'm quite enjoying playing this with you. If our audience, if the Stream Rainbow fam is enjoying this as well, let us know. Let us know if there should be a sequel, if we should bring Mads back on, if these are themes that people enjoy exploring. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know in the Discord. Let us know how we can best please you.
I'm happy to come back and do a really bad accent that changes kind of halfway through.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. I was watching the Miss Gray episode, and like halfway through, I like really just progressively, her accent got less and less aggressive, because at the beginning it was like hard smoker, like, hey, how you doing? And like just destroyed my throat. Like 45 minutes in, I was like, no, I'm not destroying my throat that much for the voice. Yeah. Thank you again for joining me, Madison. Absolute pleasure as always, and I can't wait to see you again for our finale. Again, for our fam, get in the comments, like the video, get in the Discord. All of those forms of engagement help the YouTube algorithm so that more people can see our content, which helps us make more content overall. So if you enjoyed this, if you want to see more of it, please let us know. Until next week, love your faces. Bye.
Bye-bye.